Music Matters. Cloudy, man. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, my guy. How you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good. Tired, but I'm excited for this. This is a earlier interview. You're how many hours out?
It's 10 a.m. for me right now.
Oh, okay.
10:16.
Yeah, that isn't too bad.
Nah.
Yeah, I like waking
Central.
up early. Especially
Me too.
if I do something like this, I wake up and I get something like substantial out of my day right in the morning. Then I kind of get excited for the rest of the day because I already feel like I kind of have like a W.
Oh yeah, man. I feel super productive when I get up early. Like, even on the weekends, man, I'm still up at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning trying to get shit ready. You know.
Yeah, it's like a hard balance too. I've always felt like it because you can really only do one. You know, like you can either stay up late or like wake up early. And if you do both, you're kind of just like psychotic. So I feel like you gotta kind of do one because eventually you gotta sleep a little bit. So it's like,
See,
I
that's
always
me,
try
bro.
on the side of waking up.
I stay up late and get up early. I am psychotic though with that.
Jesus.
I can't sleep to save myself, bro. I just have a horrible sleeping schedule.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Has it always been like that, or did that come from kind of like staying up late recording, producing, etc.?
A lot of both, man. Like I've always had issue with like going to sleep. I'm really hyper, so it's hard
Me
for me
too.
to sleep and stuff. So I mean, I find myself most productive when everybody's asleep and I'm just doing my thing. Um, and then I mean, I have to get up early and do stuff as well. So it just depends. Sometimes I sleep, sometimes I don't.
That's the same reason I like waking up so early because like I'll wake up early, nobody else is awake, and I'm able to
Mm-hmm.
like I mean not only in my house but just like around in general. So like I can wake up and just like I feel like I can really focus on my stuff.
Oh,
You said
definitely, man.
you're shooting a music video after this, right?
I'm going to get everything squared away. Yeah, I start filming today and tomorrow.
Oh, nice, man. Do you
Mm,
usually have like a big role in the production of music videos, or do you leave that to
absolutely.
other people more?
Okay, it kind of depends, right? Like I have like 3 videos out right now,
Hmm.
and a lot of them are just kind of like, look, we're just gonna shoot the shit and like go and have a good time. I don't know if I can cuss on here, my bad.
Go for it.
But that's my main
Say whatever you
vocabulary,
want.
unfortunately.
Hey, all of
Nah,
us,
like a
bro.
lot of the times we were just gonna go and we had an idea, like, okay, well, we want this kind of vibe, we want this kind of mood or whatever. But like I've taken like 4 months, I think, since I dropped a song. So I've been like really, really working hard to get a lot of good music set, man. Like really trying like to up my writing and just overall music in general and production as well. So I'm trying to really go hard with this next year and try and drop a lot more music and a way higher quality videos and so on. So I'm definitely more involved than I was for sure.
Do you ever feel like you stagnate, like as an artist? Like, is that something you struggle with in terms of like, like if you're working every day, it's hard to like see improvement from day to day. Is it more of a gradual thing, or do you find that every day you write, you're getting even better?
I feel like it's a bit of both because I think that as an artist, it's easy to feel stagnant, especially in the music industry, because you're
Hmm.
constantly fighting against everybody else as well. I mean, you're in the pool with people like Travis Scott or whatever, just as much as you are just a little Smo Joe guy that just started rapping. So I feel like it's easy to feel like, man, I'm not doing as much as I could or as much as I want to. But at the same time, I look at my old music and I'm like, yeah, man, I've gotten a lot better since that because that shit was trash or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you kind of you start seeing the improvements like slightly, gradually as you go for sure.
Where
Um,
do you think like the main areas you've improved upon are?
I think writing a little bit like I've been making music a long time, man. But at the
Hmm.
same time, like as a writer, it's a little bit different to because sometimes like I don't write my music. Like I freestyle everything. Like I honestly do. Like when I sit down to write a song, there's never any intention in mind. There's never like, oh, I want to write a song about this. And some people might like that, some people might not. Like there's definitely some songs that I have that are very like, oh, I kind of want to talk about this in my life, or I want to talk about how I feel about this or whatever. But a lot of the songs like that I do have just sometimes there's just nothing to nothing that I came into
Hmm.
it trying to say. So I think focusing on the writing aspect of my music and also just overall skill in terms of like singing and such, I think it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, I feel like there's different approaches to it. Like I feel like a lot of people they kind of like they'll go into the studio with the intention to write a track about something, like a
Mhm.
specific event or thing that took place in their life, or even a concept or a theme. But a lot of people just like to write and see what comes out, like see what comes out, whatever's on their mind just comes.
Mhm.
And I think those people tend to be focused on like melodies more, or like production, whereas other people are focused on like storytelling more often, especially in hip hop.
No, definitely. I think like I when I hear a song, like when I hear like for example when I hear a beat that I get right or
Hmm.
whatever, I try to go off the vibe of it and just be like, okay, well this is how I feel when I listen to this. I'll try and make something about this. Like there's definitely like don't get me wrong, like a lot of my music does have elements of my past or whatever in them. Like it's not just so like, oh, I'm just here to say whatever in front and
Yeah.
whatever. It's more so just like I try and create the song around what I feel when I listen to the beat. So I'll pick something like, okay, well, I feel like this, and this is how the melody sounds. So let me find something that I can say that fits this, and then tie in parts of my life to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Are you like, because of that, do you find yourself like picky when it comes to choosing beats? Like, do you only
Very,
hop on production that really, really, really feels personal to you?
very, very, very picky, bro. I have a really bad problem. I have like producers in my DMs all day long asking like, yo, let's do this, and sending me beat after beat. But like, I feel bad that like I can't reply or sometimes because like it's just I
Yeah.
don't really fuck with it. It's not that they're bad, you know, they're really good. It's just I can't flow on certain things. I'm very, very picky about what I want because as soon as I hear the beat and I put it in my FL and I start tracking it, if it hits hard off the rip, I'm like, okay, this one works, you know. If I'm like, man, I don't really know what to say, I gotta really think about it. I don't even waste time, you know. I just like, okay,
Yeah.
this isn't for me, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely like an interesting way of looking at it, and I think it makes sense. You know, it's like you could look at it in like the setting of like, oh, if I can make as many songs as possible, the odds that one of them is going to, oh, excuse me, the odds that one of them's going to get me on is like way higher. And I mean, if you're just in the studio, let's say you have 3 hours, it's much easier to go in there with three beats. They're like, okay, I so much comes to my head when I hear this beat. It's gonna take me so less long to like punch in and get these verses done. Obviously, that makes more sense. That's kind of the production that you would want to be over.
Mm-hmm. No,
When
absolutely.
when I first was introduced to your music, it was by Kevin. And I've known Kevin for a really really long time. We haven't, because he moved from California when we were kids, but we were good friends when we were kids, and that was interesting to me because like I didn't know he was into like creative stuff. But I remember like when he sent me your music, like the first thing like that caught my eye about it was like your name, because I was trying to figure out how to say it. I was like, oh, it just it said how it sounds. It's cloudy, and then but it made me curious. Where why did you choose to go by that name? Like, where did that come from?
So I'm a pretty big nerd, bro. I love video games. I like anime and stuff like that. I've always been that way. I love Final Fantasy. So Cloud obviously is one of the main characters in the franchise. I love Cloud. I think that game is dope, you know. And I kind of went that direction. Like I had a couple names in mind. They were all
Hmm.
terrible. I went with the spelling because I didn't want to just do some like, you know, just whatever. Like I wanted to stand out. And like at first I really hated it. Like as soon as I started dropping music, I'm like, no one can say my name. Everyone's calling me CLOVDX or Clovid. And I'm like, bro, no, they're just
COVID.
destroying it. It happens, bro. But I think that with time, you know, people start to know me. They'll be able to see it, you know, things like that. It'll happen. It'll happen. People get it. It's just kind of like it's endearing too. Like I'm not a hard dude. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't feel right to go by something else. You know, it's just chill.
I feel it.
So
I kind of like the callback to like video games anyway, because I feel like the spelling is almost like it's almost like a gamer tag.
yeah,
You can see it
that's
like
kind of
that.
what I was going for as well.
Yeah.
It's funny you caught
It,
that.
yeah, it's kind of interesting. So when did you originally make that name and just start making music in the first place? Like, when did you first start going by
So it's
that?
actually almost been 2 years since I dropped my first song, and I didn't start doing this with the intention of like doing music because I've been in bands for a long time, bro. Like long time, performed a
What kind of
lot, done a lot.
bands?
I metal or pop punk stuff
Okay.
like that, indie music as well. Like I've done a lot of that stuff, bro. So I was like, you know, I've been around, done the tours, I've done that shit. It's just like, and my mentality was, you know, it doesn't happen like that, especially in that genre. Those genres, it's very very hard to pop off because it's not a dying genre by any means. I still listen to this shit I listened to in middle school, you know, high school and whatever. I
Hmm.
love that music, bro. You know, never go against it. It's just a very hard genre to pop because it's very niche to some people. You know what I mean? It's not a very like widely consumed music genre. But when I decided to do this, you know, I was like, well, I need a name, and like I was thinking of like Alex Strife was the name because Cloud Strife. You know, I was like thinking of my favorite games. Like I like Kingdom Hearts, I like Final Fantasy and things like that. A lot of other games too, but I was like, man, I like Cloud, bro. It kind of sounds sick, you know. So I came up with that, and I came up with the spelling. You know, I try to tie in all the different roots and whatnot.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of how.
So 2 years ago, like when you get started and everything, is that when? So you're still living in Texas in that time, right? Like, have you always been from Texas, and are you
I
living there?
lived in I was born here for
Okay.
sure. I lived here for a long time when I was a kid, and then probably when I got to like third grade, I moved to Chicago. I lived in Illinois for a long time in a small town called Sandwich, Illinois. um,
I feel like
uh,
every person you tell who's not from Sandwich probably laughs at the idea that it's
they
called
do,
Sandwich.
they do. Well, you know, okay, you know Cole Bennett, right?
Cole Bennett is a big part of the reason why you're on this interview.
Right, Cole Bennett
Like
is
he's inspiration for a big part of what this is.
dude. Okay, Cole Bennett's from Plano, which is
Yeah,
literally right
south
across
of
from
Chicago,
Sandwich.
correct?
Yep,
Okay, so yeah, I've looked at this on a map before because I've
it's
tried to
right
figure out where
next to
Plano is.
Sandwich. They're
Oh,
like
okay.
little rival football teams.
So you grew up in cornfields too.
Yeah, for a
Wow.
long
Okay.
time, bro. I moved probably back to Texas when I was in eighth grade,
Uh
like
huh.
right at the end of eighth grade, and then finished out high school here.
So when did you get super into music? Was it out when you were
Oh,
out
my
in
whole life,
outside of
my whole
Chicago?
life. My uncle is a musician, and it's been a
Hmm.
constant influence my entire life. I've always liked playing guitar. I've always liked singing and being in bands. I love music, dude. It's just one of the most universal things that everybody likes. Everybody can relate on. You know, it's a cool art form, and I think that really has been the one thing in my life that's been consistent that I just love. You know, so
Yeah, I can certainly relate to that. I feel like it's been like my one consistent love forever in some capacity, be it
yeah.
making music, be it doing Above the Bridge, be it writing about music. There's always just been some type of like musical obsession in my life. So when you were growing up, like outside of Chicago, were you influenced by the music there at all, or where did your major musical influences come from in terms of like people you're like, wow, they're like from here? Did that ever happen, or were you kind of listening to music on a more national scale?
I was listening to music on a more national scale. Like when I
Hmm.
first started, like really getting into music, I liked music like the Beatles and like classic rock stuff. And I mean, I like country music. Everyone's gonna clown, but I like country music. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
like country
I
music.
listen to anything, bro. Anything you put
Hmm.
on, I'll check it out. You know. But I think when I got to high school, when I left Chicago and went back to Texas, right? I knew a girl back in Illinois still, and she turned me on to what's it called? Bring me the horizon. What is it? Bullet for My Valentine. It was the first metal band
Okay.
I've ever heard, and they like had a song where they were like screaming in it and shit. I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? Like this is crazy. And like from then on, I was like, I love this. I don't know what this is, but I love it. And I remember just taking a deep dive and finding like Slipknot and Bring Me the Horizon, Asking Alexandria, A Day to Remember, all this stuff, bro. And I was just like, oh my god, I love this. And from then on, just boom, all about metal, all about pop punk, all that stuff. It was just my life after that.
Since that's kind of the music you grew up on, but now you're obviously into hip hop as well.
Yeah.
How was it for you to watch those two worlds kind of collide and the hip hop and rock are kind of becoming more and more intertwined in terms of like not only aesthetic but sound as well and
hmm
production?
I think when it's done right, it's really cool. Like
Hmm.
I really like Oliver Francis. Like that's my idol, bro. Like I wouldn't be doing this without him because he did the same thing. He came from the hip like rock and pop punk metal genre to this. And
Hmm.
he did it with such ease and like the way he flows, the cadence, the melodies, everything is so perfect. It reminds you of like you feel like Kingdom Hearts. You feel like there's these melodies that they have in these games. It's just like, and he's cold, man. He's so good. He's very like smart with his bars and stuff. And it's just like that was really cool for me. But seeing things like like more mainstream artists, Ian Dior, for example, I love that.
Hmm.
He does it right. He does a good job. I personally like Machine Gun Kelly stuff. Like I don't really care. You know, I'm not gonna be mean or whatever. But I don't particularly like what he's doing and things
Mhm.
like that. He like really took a huge switch to it. Seemed kind of fake to me, you know, where it's like, you
I
know,
feel the same way. I like that sound and I like where it comes from,
yeah,
but a lot of the time I feel like a lot of the artists are
they're
a bit
just hopping
corny
on the
with it.
bandwagon, you know.
Yeah, like Machine Gun Kelly particularly. Like no offense to Machine Gun Kelly or any Machine Gun Kelly fans, but I do feel like a lot of what his last album was like taking the most stereotypical aspects of pop punk and just
Definitely.
rolling them up into one personality, one aesthetic, and then throwing into an album.
I agree, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in general, like even on a more scale, like I guess stuff that trends more in the hip hop waters, like be it like an X or a Josiah or a Members Only or like a, you know, that almost screamo rap wave
I
that's
love
gotten
that,
big in the
man.
past couple of years. Yeah.
When I was in high school, that's when I first heard about like X. It's the first time I heard about Oliver. It's the first time I heard about, you know, Juice World, all that stuff. And I remember being like, yo, like specifically X and Slump God, bro. Like they really took that element of like screaming and taking that and putting it into rap and making this hard style. Like, you know, with Suicide Boys too. Obviously, Ruby
Suicide
screams a
Boys,
bit
yeah.
in some song and their older music and stuff. Like all of that stuff, I was like really, really intrigued by it. And I loved all of it, man. Like I was a super huge fan into that stuff because I found that it was very original. I feel like hip hop has been doing the same thing for a long time, and people like Lil Uzi and things like that really changed the spectacle. But people like X and Slump God and Juice WRLD really changed hip hop. They changed it forever, ever. You know, it's never going to be what it used to be. It's only going to progress and change. It's really interesting.
And what's exciting to me about that is like I feel like hip hop right now is at a more varied place than it ever has been because it's bigger than it ever has been. I think it's ridiculous. Like no, this is a hot take, and a lot of people don't agree with this, but um, also I haven't mentioned this like viewer wise. I'm sorry that my voice is all like cracky. I saw Mine last night, and I came home and I'm all like my voice is just it's thrash. But anyway, um, yeah. So like I feel like the way I think about it, right, is like if you want to talk about your top five, I think it's ridiculous to say that the majority of the rappers in your top five, or at least half of them, aren't from the past 15 years because we've gotten more hip hop in the past 15 years than we've ever gotten before. Like
Yep.
to say that, like, oh, if anybody. I think it's ridiculous and you're trying too hard if your top five is made of all 90s rappers and you're not being honest with what you like.
I
Because right
agree.
now, yeah, because right now there's more stems and trees of hip hop than there ever has been. You know, if
Yeah.
there's a family tree of hip hop and we start with three distinct styles and we offshoot to six, then we offshoot to eight, we're now at like 35. So
Yeah.
it's like the odds that you connect with something that's being made now are generally much higher than the odds of you connecting with something that was made 25 years ago. So when people are
Mm.
just like old head in the conversation of like, oh, who's your top five? Who's your top 10? I think it's ridiculous that you're at least some of them shouldn't be from this era. And I mean, like at the end of the day, you like what you like, but I think a lot of people just try to act like they
They like
have a
older stuff
respect.
more.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
It's like you can respect that shit, bro. I respect the whole hip hop
For
genre as
sure.
it is and
Of
what it
course.
represented at the time and what it is now. Like you got to understand, like hip hop was made to change. It's an expression. It's one of the most, I think, unique forms of expression in music. I think that it's always been that way. That's what it was supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, much respect to the old heads. I like Biggie. I like Snoop Dogg a lot, bro. Like, that was what I listened to when I was little. My mom loved that shit, so I listened to that shit. You know, that
Of
was my
course.
stuff. But I'm not gonna lie and tell you, oh, you know, Biggie, Tupac, and all that shit's my top five. It's not. They're not. They're not. I respect it. I like their music a lot. It influenced a lot of hip hop. It influenced me in a way. But my top five is most people probably within this decade. You know, that's just
Mhm.
how it is.
And I mean, I feel like that's how it should be because I feel like the music that the music that you listen to in your formative teenage years is always going to be the most special to you,
I
no
think
matter
so.
what
Yeah.
that is. No matter what that is. No matter if it's music that's coming out then or it's music that came out 25 years ago. I feel
Mm.
like whatever you're listening to when you're like 15 to 25 is like what is going to be like your most formative music.
Agreed. Yeah. 100%.
So, being from Texas, let me ask you this: what part of Texas are you from?
I'm from Houston.
Okay, so that might be
Yeah.
different then. Because I was gonna say, I was gonna ask you, in Texas, is there like a lot of hip hop, or is it kind of consolidated into cities? But I know that Houston does have a lot of hip hop, correct?
Yeah, Houston's got its own like sound and everything. I do not fall into that sound at all, but
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely got its own like culture. I respect it, man. Like people like Maxo Cream, Zero, all the like big hip hop artists, from Houston. It's cool. It's cool to see people like come out of your city and do big things. It kind of gives you like incentive to try harder,
Mm-hmm.
try and be like, peers and stuff. It's really cool, man. It's an interesting thing. Yeah, definitely hip hop has a big lot of culture here for sure.
When you were like coming up through high school and like just like making music, learning, was there like a lot of local hip hop happening around you? Like, did you know
I wasn't really
people in
into
the
like
scene?
I wasn't in the scene like that.
Okay.
I was mainly into the metal scene. I was doing a lot of shows in high school,
Okay.
doing things like that. I was learning how to like my junior and senior year. My freshman and sophomore were just a mess, bro. But my junior and senior year, I pulled myself together and I realized like I got to do something, and I might as well do something I love. I learned how to produce. I learned how to make beats and stuff like that. I suck, so I stopped. But I do know how to produce well, so I can do like good demos for myself, so I know exactly what I'm gonna do when I go to the studio for real. And I can talk to my audio engineer. I trust my dudes. Everyone that I work with, I trust like wholeheartedly that they have my best interest in mind as well.
Sorry, I was sneezing.
No, you're
Yeah,
good, man. No worries.
but I think that's really important. Like going into the studio and like at least knowing like it's
It's
some
expensive.
resemblance of what you
Don't
want.
waste your time.
That
Don't waste your time.
exactly.
It's expensive.
Like that, it's a lot easier saying like, oh, like can you can you bring the high end of that up a bit more? That's a lot less time consuming to an engineer than like, just trying to
I
explain
feel
that in
like if you don't
non-musical
have
terms.
no, exactly, exactly. I mean, if you don't have, I feel like if you don't have at least some knowledge, you're gonna spend a lot of time being like, oh, can you get that? Oh, what is it called? That thing. Go in there, know what you're gonna do. For all the smaller artists just like me, go in there, know what you're gonna do. Try and record yourself at home. Learn some stuff because it's expensive to go to the studio. It's worth it every bit. You get the production value. That's really
Hmm.
important. You know, Remember you're competing with everybody. So go in there with at least an idea of what you want and some sort of terminology so you can, contact and, really let your engineer know what's going on.
When you kind of got out of high school, were you was the intention? Did you ever have an intention to do anything like college or anything like that, or were you just like get a
No.
job or music or?
Man, I'm not gonna lie and tell you, I had, oh man, yeah, I was ready to I was a mess after high school, man. I didn't know what to do. I think most people are like that. They go to college
Hmm.
as, oh, well, I mean, they may want to. I'm not gonna disrespect anybody, but I feel like a lot of people just go because that's what they think they're supposed to do, and so on. Like, I'm not out here to try to be edgy at all either, but like, it just wasn't for me. I went to work. I've always had a job. I worked full time in high school. So I went to school and went to work and then went home late, went to sleep, did my homework and went to school. And I did that forever. I've always been a worker, you know what I'm saying? That's why working is not hard to me. That's easy. You just go, you show up and you got to do what you got to do. But now I've been to college. Yes. I have a few certifications as well. Uh, I have a day job. I do EKG technician. So, I had to go to school for that.
What what is that?
Electrocardiology. So I basically
Okay.
look at electrical waves in the heart and determine what's wrong with the person.
Oh, cool. I mean,
It's
that
pretty cool.
that that's a good day job.
Yeah, it pays well. You know what I'm saying? It helps me pay for this.
Yeah, yeah. How old are you?
I'm 23. I'm turning 24 in
Oh,
March.
okay. Good for you, man. That's a cool thing to do. Only at 23.
Yeah, I enjoy it, man.
When did you like originally know that you wanted to be a musician? Like when you were coming up, like was there like a distinct moment, or was it kind of like
Yeah, I think in
a
high school,
process?
once I started learning how to sing and do fry vocal like screaming and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
playing instruments, I was like, man, I don't want to do anything else. But I really think what really changed was recently. Like I've always wanted to do music, right? But I never knew what to do or like how to make it happen. I just performed and did whatever. But I think being a solo artist has taught me a lot, and it's made me grow up a lot. And I think right now, a couple years ago, I made a decision. I was like, I'm not going to do anything else. This is what I'm going to do. And once you dedicate yourself, it's a stressful thing. There's days I want to quit. There's days I don't want to do this anymore. But I think that that's natural. It's a hard thing to do, especially coming up, because it's expensive. It's very stressful. It's time consuming. You have to sacrifice a lot because it's the only way to make it. It's the only way to make things happen is to dedicate 100% of what you make, all the money, everything, into what you love. And I think it's worth it.
It's also a matter of like, I think another thing that's so difficult about it is like, you just never know like what's gonna happen tomorrow. Like whereas like if you're working a 9-to-5 job, you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna keep going to this job. I can work my way up in the company. I can get a promotion. I can make more money. I can get a salary, etc. As a musician, there's no path. You have to find your path.
Yep, and I love that. I love that about it. And it's funny you bring that up because it's like, I think that going to school and going to work is easy. I think that's life on easy mode, and I don't fucking like it. It makes me uncomfortable. I like the hustle. I've always liked that. My mom has always told me that it's like, I do life the hard way, and I do. I choose to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not stupid. I can go to school. I can do all that. It's not hard to me. It's just, I love music, and that's what I want to do. I want to be a musician, so I choose the lifestyle. I gave up a lot of shit to do this. I love it though. I wouldn't trade it. I like not knowing. I like I meet a lot of cool people. I learn a lot about different stuff. It helps me grow. It helps me, create a path, like you said, man.
I get that. I also find that like, I think when you don't have, because I mean, I can relate to this because like building a business in the same way, there isn't very much of a path. So it's like, I find that when you don't have a path and you have to make it for yourself, it puts you in this mindset of kind of like almost survival mode from a really early point.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, whereas like, if you're going to your 9-to-5 job, you know what's coming. You know it's going to happen. But like for somebody who's trying to build a business or somebody who's trying to make music as a career, which is still building a business, it's you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So you really I feel like are often more motivated to put everything into today.
100%. No, that's great. That's exactly right, man. Because it's like I was saying before, if you don't dedicate, whatever it is, it's not even just music. It's like you said, building a business. If you're not 100% about and believe in yourself and know that it's going to happen, it won't work. You have to try your best. You have to do everything you can to make it happen. It's survival, like you said.
You also have to do something every day. Like that's really important too. And I think it's like people stagnate and then they just stop and they fall off because they just are like, oh, I'm not making any progress, and they just quit. But I think one thing that's really important is you just have to do things to do them without understanding the outcome.
That's it.
Be it like, oh my God. My bad. Thank you.
No, you're good, man.
But you just have to do things without doing them, without understanding what's going to happen. And I think that's really important because the majority of opportunities I think you're going to get are from things that you don't think you're going to get opportunities from. That's why you take every show. That's why you talk to every person you can. That's why you take every interview, every opportunity, be it or you go to those studio sessions that people ask you for. You work with those people that want to work with you, and you need to take those chances because whether or not you think they could be opportunities, they just can. I mean, they might be nothing, but they also can be like the step that's going to take your life.
Exactly.
You have to take the steps. You have to keep moving and moving and moving and just doing something.
I had a talk last night with a fellow artist, and it's exactly what you said. I was telling him, it's like, look, sometimes you just got to put it out there and just let it happen because no matter what, some people are going to like you, some people aren't, and you have to be willing to be okay with that. And you have to take the chances no matter what. Like I reach out to people that I never would think would talk to me. Okay. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Some people do. You'd be surprised. Like I'm really good friends with some people that I never thought that I listened to, that I was like, idolizing and so on. And now I've got friends. Now I can text them whatever. It's crazy. Just take the shots, man. Like life is what you make it. You know what I mean? It really is. Like if you want something bad enough, you'll sacrifice, you'll do the things necessary to make it happen. That's just it. And you'll be rewarded for that. just take the shot. You never know.
I couldn't agree more. Like the way I think of that actually is it's funny. I call it like it's like the Nardwuar theory. Nardwuar did this TED talk where he talked about just that very thing, just taking shots in the dark, and he was saying like the whole concept of the talk was like, what's the worst that could happen? They could say no.
Yeah.
It's like that's the worst thing that could happen. It's they could say no, and if you're not willing to be told no and then tell yourself yes and keep going, you're just gonna stop, and it's gonna be a dead end because you have to hear no 1,000 times in the majority of creative careers before you see any kind of progress, and you have to be willing to take those no's, understand that they're tough and they suck and it's gonna be hard, and then just process them and keep moving, keep stepping, keep taking steps forward.
No, that's exactly right, man. Like I think a lot of people are afraid to hear that no. I think a lot of people are afraid to hear that their music isn't that good or, so on. I think that, for example, I've been told my music isn't great by plenty of people. I've also been told my music is amazing. You know what I'm saying? I focus on the people that do like my music and versus the people that don't. I don't really give a fuck if you don't like my music, bro. Some people do. And that's who I'm making music for, It's kind of the idea you have to have because it's like you're going to get hit, bro, over and over, whether it's financial or emotional. You're going to get hit and you have to be able to take it, and just keep pushing. Tell yourself that, do it for yourself before you do it for anybody else. Like you love making music, make music for you. That's it.
I know it's corny, but it's like that Rocky quote. It's like it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit.
You can get hit and get back up. Yeah, that's right. 100%.
Which I think
bro.
is a lot of true. I love all the I'm a big fan of like corny quotes that like everybody says or you find on like some like Facebook posts or like some like some like sign in like some like white mom's kitchen and like suburban and
100%
like white suburbia. But it's like I love quotes like that because I feel like quotes like that, the reason they're so like stereotypical and big is because they have a lot of truth to them. I like corny shit like that.
No, me too, man. 100%. I'm all about that. It's just motivation, man.
Mm-hmm. What is so you said most of your stuff's freestyle, like that's kind of how you like to write. Sure. When you get in the booth and you start doing a freestyle, is it the type of thing where you punch in and you're like, okay, I get one bar and then I hear the beat again, I get another bar, and you just kind of build songs that way? Because I've seen people in the studio do it like that, or I've seen people in the studio just go in and try to punch out full verses at once, and if they don't like how they flow, then they restart it. Like, what's your process kind of like?
I think the second way you said that, like where they just punch it and go, like that requires a lot of skill. Like that's really hard. It is. Like you got people like Juice that can just sit there all day and just go. Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, man, that ain't me. Like when I go, like for example, when I get the beat that I want to work on, I immediately start trying to find the melody. I'm like, okay, whatever the fuck. I start finding the melody to the beat, and then I'm like, all right. And I started spitting some shit out with it. And then I'm like, oh, that's kind of hard. Like, let's go with that. What am I going to say next? So it's definitely the first one. I punch in, I do my thing. I'm like, okay, that works. And then I go out and I'm like, all right, what can I do here? Okay, that works. And I go back in and do it again. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, doing that stuff that Juice did is like, unless you're like
pretty
a one in a million, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty impossible for most people to do.
It's it's a very unique skill, and I think a lot of people think they can do it, but they really can't. That's something to just like all over. It's very talented. That's a lot of talent.
I feel like more and more people are like starting to tread the waters of like writing and freestyling, because I feel like you can get a lot more done quicker if you're kind of just punching in and freestyling and going as you go.
I think a lot of people like the vibe now. Like, people want to vibe. It's not so much about, like, not everybody wants to hear a fucking story. Not everyone wants to hear somebody, talk about the hard time. Like, for example, I love that shit. I love it, bro. Sometimes I just want to be like, yeah, bro, I can relate or whatever. I feel what you're talking about. But sometimes I just want to be in a good fucking mood. And I don't want to listen to somebody complain and tell me about other dark shit when I'm dealing with dark shit,
Yeah.
So
that's an interesting point.
Because, like, when I listen to music, I feel very connected to music. So when I listen to it, it alters everything about me, my mood, my perception, everything. I listen, like, that's one thing, like, I feel as a musician and a music lover, not just as a musician, but as a music lover, you listen to a song, you pick apart that song, you listen to every single word, and you're like, okay, I see what you're trying to say. I understand how you feel. Like, I'm very empathetic, so I can feel what he's trying to tell me, and I understand the pain and stuff. But a lot of times, dude, I just want to be in a good mood, and I want to, sometimes I'm down, and I want to, someone to tell me, yeah, I'm great. And so I listen to a song that makes me just feel good. I like making music like that. I want to feel good. I'm gonna make music that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I like that because I feel like a lot of people are so obsessed with the storytelling aspect of hip hop, but of course, it's a very vital
Yeah.
part
Oh
of the
yeah.
genre's roots and the genre's
I love
background and
that.
where it came from. It's an extremely vital and like intricate part of like where the genre came from. But like you said, like I think it's progressed to a point where like if that's not your thing and you want to just listen to like a happy banger to make you feel better, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, it's just a different way of looking at it. It's interesting because I feel like it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's like people act like they're obsessed with like the old parts of hip hop or like the old rappers, whereas like in reality they're listening to Juice World and Ski just as much as the
Just
next
spit
guy
some shit
is.
out. I think the most important quality and element of hip hop is imagery, the
Mm.
ability to paint a picture. And I think people fantasize over the picture. And I use that to my advantage. Like, I want to make music to where you see what I'm talking about, where you see like all the things that I have and whatnot, right? Imagery is important because some people just want to, they wish they had those things, but they can't. It's no disrespect to them or whatever. I can't fucking afford all the shit I talk about, but
Mm-hmm.
imagery is important. And I think it's a really cool tool. It makes me, when I listen to somebody talk about a fast car, and I want a fast fucking car. I want to listen to somebody talk about it. I can visualize myself there. Same thing with money or whatever, jewels, all that. The lifestyle, people wish they can live that. They listen to music so they can feel, feel certain things. Like, it makes them feel good. I want to make music like that, bro. I want to give people that enjoyment,
I mean, at its core, like I think one of the most important musical values to understand as an artist is relatability. If you can make a song that's relatable, it's like two things for me. I think if you can make a song that's one relatable and two makes people feel something that they don't get from other songs, they'll
Mm-hmm.
come back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like if you
It's
have both of those
absolutely.
things, that's like powerful. I think that's why like sad songs that like people can relate to, it's why they get replayed so much. It's
Mm-hmm.
because like if you're making a relatable song, and two, you're making somebody feel something from a track that they can come back to, they can relate to.
Absolutely. I feel like you kind of hit the nail on the head with that because it's like I try to make I front like about certain shit, right? Because it's like, oh, it's part of the culture. It is what it is. But it's not so much a front. It's more so just like I'm kind of trying to paint what I'm seeing in my mind into a song. Like it's like it's like a daydream, right? I'm daydreaming in my music, and I write a lot of songs that are like kind of silly, like Zero Two, for example. It's all about Zero Two from Darling in the Franxx, which is an anime. It's all about her. The whole song's about an anime waifu. You know what I'm saying? And then Outer Space. Outer Space is about my early on when I was dealing with a lot of like anxiety issues and so on. I've been popping pills just to get my mind right. Well, I had to take a lot of different pills to keep my sanity, man. Like I was going crazy, couldn't sleep, so on. So I try and bring a lot of my real life elements into my music and try and relay how I feel, what I'm going through, and so on. So I feel like it's just rather how you approach it, how you approach each song, how you approach the industry in general.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
All right, man. I think I gotta let you bounce to this music video shoot now.
Yeah, man. I gotta get ready and go, man. I
Do you?
apologize. I wish we could see you
No,
longer.
you're all good, dude. We can do another one whenever for sure. This is a lot of fun. I love to have you back on.
I appreciate that, man. I'd love to be back.
Shout out your music where everybody can find your stuff, where they can check you out
Yeah,
at.
man, you can find me on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube, CLOVDX, Cloudy, baby,
The
CloudX,
vid-
whatever.
the video you're getting ready to shoot. Do you have a?
Video
Is it
is
for a song that's out or?
so it's gonna be for the song that drops February 12th. It's called Nights Like This. There's gonna be a music video that follows it very shortly after that, maybe the day after. So it drops February 12th. It's gonna be a big song, man. I'm telling you,
Yeah, so
it's
be on the
good.
lookout for that.
Yes, sir.
All right, Cloudy, appreciate you, man. Do me a
Yeah,
favor
thank
too.
you.
Once I end the recording, just keep this browser open so because it downloads live. That way, I have the
Okay,
files. All
no
right, brother.
problem, man.
Thank you
No
so
worries.
much, dude.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, bro.
Take
Thank
care.
you.